At my niece's sweet 16 that I paid for, my mom said, "This party is cheap and embarrassing. We'd be better off without you." When I simply nodded and said, "In that case, I'll stop paying their bills." My mom. My childhood is marked by one phrase, and one phrase only. Think of your brother. Like when I was 11 and won $200 in a school art contest. But when I showed my parents the check, my mom just frowned and said, "Your brother Michael didn't win anything. You should share this with him." A wave of guilt crashed over me and I handed Michael $50. But instead of thanking me, he pouted. "Only 50? My mom sighed and told me to think of my brother, and I ended up giving him $125. Deep down, I knew it wasn't fair. It was my artwork, my achievement. But I did it anyway, because their approval mattered more than my feelings. Fast forward to last month when I turned 32. For the first time in my life, I had real savings. A promotion at work meant I finally had disposable income, which might not sound like much, but to someone who grew up being the family wallet, it felt like freedom. And of course, I wanted to share my good fortune. So when my nephew Sophia's sweet 16 approached, I went all out. I spent $5,000 on the venue, DJ, photographer, decorations, a 3-tier custom cake, and even hired a makeup artist for him and his friends. On the way to the party, I kept telling myself that this would finally show them I wasn't selfish. This would prove I was a good aunt, a good sister, a good daughter. But of course, my hopes were shattered. Because after the party, as I was helping pack up decorations, Michael cornered me in the parking lot. "Did you see Caden's party photos on Instagram last month?" I stared at him blankly, and he just scoffed. His aunt spent $10,000. He had a live band and a champagne fountain. I heard footsteps, and suddenly my mom was beside him. They both stood with their arms crossed, and my mom told me that if I was going to be cheap and embarrass Sophia in front of his friends, then I shouldn't have bothered at all. And before I could point out that Sophia had been glowing with happiness all night, Michael chimed in. "Do you know what they're saying at school? They're calling it the budget party. He's being bullied because you couldn't spend a few more dollars." I did the math in my head, because I always kept track. You see, over the years, I'd paid for Michael's wedding tux, $2,000, helped with his mortgage down payment, $10,000, and covered Sophia's tutoring for 3 years. Still, Michael acted like I was the world's greatest disappointment. And I know this might sound pathetic, but I wasn't even angry at first. I just felt tears sting my eyes. My fingers clutched my car keys tighter, remembering the thank you card I'd hoped to receive. And as I stood there being berated, they kept going. "You just got that promotion. You're making good money now. But you're too selfish to properly celebrate your only nephew's milestone?" In an instant, my sadness turned to anger. I stared at their entitled faces. Not once during the party had either of them thanked me. Not once had they offered to help with costs. They just showed up, criticized the decorations, and complained the cake wasn't from the trendy bakery across town. I took a deep breath and asked them a simple question. "What did you two contribute to the party?" Michael rolled his eyes. "I'm his father. My presence is my contribution." I kept a completely stoic expression. "And what about Sophia's birthday last year? Or the year before that?" They both looked uncomfortable, because we all knew the answer. I'd paid for those parties too. Well, that was enough for me. I turned and walked toward my car. The second I turned the corner, I stopped. I thought back to all the times I'd emptied my wallet for them. All the times I'd gone without so they could have more. I think that moment was the first time I actually let myself see the truth. And for once, I wanted to do something about it. I turned around and marched back. Michael was already on his phone, probably complaining about me to someone. "One more thing," I said. "Who paid for Sophia's braces?" "Insurance," Michael answered dismissively. I smiled. "What insurance? The one I pay for?" His face went white. "What about his school uniforms? His soccer fees? His summer camp?" The smirk was wiped from his face as he realized it was all me, and that's when my mom tried to intervene. "Now, honey, family helps family. Really? Then where's my help? Where's my party? When's the last time either of you spent a dime on me?" They both turned to look at each other and had the "oh wait" look plastered on their faces. You see, I'd been covering for them for years, telling Dad that Michael was contributing to household expenses, telling Michael that Mom was helping with Sophia's expenses, creating a web of lies to keep the peace while I paid for everything. I didn't even stick around to watch it unravel. I just left. And even though I felt like a weight had been lifted, it was still really hard. So I spent the entire night alternating between relief and grief. And when I woke up, I noticed my phone had been bombarded with dozens of texts and missed calls. The first voicemail was angry, calling me a selfish brat who ruined Sophia's reputation. By the 10th, they were practically begging, suddenly remembering my birthday was coming up and promising to make it special this year. I had no idea what they had in mind. The next morning, I grabbed my phone from the nightstand and the screen lit up with notification after notification. 47 missed calls, 23 text messages, all from Michael and Mom. I sat up in bed and started scrolling through the messages, watching them shift from angry to desperate in real time. The first few called me selfish and ungrateful. Then around message 15, the tone changed to "please just talk to us, and we need to work this out as a family." My chest felt tight but also kind of empty at the same time, like I was watching this happen to someone else. The guilt started creeping in through the cracks, whispering that maybe I overreacted. Maybe I should just apologize and make things easier for everyone. I forced myself to open the voicemail app because I needed to hear the actual words, not just read sanitized text versions. The first voicemail from Michael started playing, and his voice was sharp and mean. He called me a cheap embarrassment who clearly didn't care about family. I skipped ahead to the fifth one, which was from Mom using her sad voice, the one she always used when she wanted me to feel bad. She talked about how family helps family, and how disappointed she was that I would abandon them over something so small. The latest voicemail was from Michael again, and this time his tone was almost friendly. He mentioned making my birthday really special this year if I would just do the right thing and help out more. I took screenshots of the call log, documenting the pattern of angry to desperate to manipulative. Seeing it laid out like that made the manipulation so obvious that I couldn't unsee it anymore. I got out of bed and walked to my kitchen table, opening my laptop with shaking hands. For 2 hours, I sat there creating a spreadsheet of every single payment I'd made for Michael, Mom, and Sophia over the past 10 years. I went through old bank statements, credit card bills, Venmo transactions, everything I could find. The wedding tux, the mortgage down payment, 3 years of tutoring, soccer fees, summer camps, school uniforms, birthday parties, emergency car repairs that somehow always happened to Michael's car. Never mine. When I added up the final total, the number made me stop breathing for a second. $47,000. Not counting the insurance I still pay that covers Sophia. I stared at that number and realized I could have bought a house with that money. Instead, I was living in a small apartment while funding their entire lives. My hands were shaking. So hard I had to put them flat on the table. I opened a new text message to the family group chat and started typing out boundaries. No more emergency requests. No more guilt trips. No more expecting me to fund everything while pretending other people were contributing. My finger hovered over the send button for 20 minutes while my brain went to war with itself. The old voice kept whispering, "Think of your brother." And I realized I wasn't ready to actually send this message yet. I needed more than just anger to hold this boundary. I needed a plan and maybe some support. I closed the messaging app without sending anything. Then I logged into my credit monitoring service because a new fear had just hit me. What if Mom or Michael had my banking information from all those emergency transfers over the years? What if they could just take money directly? I checked every account I had access to, my pulse racing the whole time. Everything looked clean so far. No weird transactions or accounts I didn't recognize. But I immediately changed all my passwords anyway, making them complex and different for every account. I wrote down a note to check if I was listed on any accounts I didn't personally open. At work the next day, I couldn't focus during our project meeting. Troy kept glancing at me with this concerned look on his face. During lunch break, he asked if I was okay. I gave him the short version about family drama over party expenses, leaving out most of the details because I wasn't ready to say everything out loud yet. Troy listened without jumping in with advice or telling me what I should do. Then he mentioned his sister went through something similar with boundary issues and found therapy really helpful. He said it in this casual way that didn't make me feel judged or broken. That night, I couldn't sleep because my brain kept playing this loop of every time someone said, "Think of your brother," in my life. I was 11 again, handing over my art contest money. I was 23, giving up my study abroad program because Michael needed rent money. I was 28, working 2 jobs during grad school while Michael complained about being tired from his one part-time position. Each memory connected to the next one like links in a chain, and I finally saw the pattern clearly. This wasn't occasional helping between family members. This was training. Systematic training to put everyone else's needs above my own, starting from childhood and never stopping. The clarity hurt almost as much as the memories themselves. Instead of just accepting Michael's claim that Sophia was bullied over the budget party, I decided I needed to verify this myself. I remembered that Sophia's school has a parent portal, and I technically have access since I've been the one paying for everything. I logged in and searched for any counselor notes or incident reports about bullying. There was nothing. No reports, no meetings, no documentation of any social problems related to the party. I spent the next hour scrolling through Sophia's social media accounts and looking at the party photos he posted. In every single picture, he looked genuinely happy. His friends were laughing and dancing and having fun. The comment section was full of people saying things like, "Best party ever," and "So fun," and "Wish I could have stayed longer." Not one comment mocked the decorations or called it cheap or made any reference to it being a budget party. The bullying narrative Michael had used to guilt me was completely made up. I closed my laptop and sat in the dark for a while, letting that sink in. Then I made a decision. A firm one this time, not one I would second-guess in 20 minutes. I was suspending any new financial payments to Michael or Mom while I figured out my next steps. The insurance that covers Sophia was already paid through the end of the year, so I wasn't cutting off a teenager's health care. But I wasn't handing over another dollar until I had clear boundaries in place, and maybe some professional help figuring out how to hold them. The mix of terror and relief in my chest felt strange, but also kind of right, like I was finally doing something that actually protected me instead of just keeping everyone else comfortable. I lie in bed staring at the ceiling while my brain plays the same horrible movie on repeat. I'm 11 again, watching Michael spend my art contest money on video games while I pretended it was fine. I'm 19, telling my study abroad coordinator that I had to withdraw from the Paris program because of a family emergency, which was code for Michael needing rent money and mom saying I should think of my brother. I'm 23, working the morning shift at a coffee shop and the evening shift at a bookstore during grad school, while Michael posted Instagram photos from his afternoon naps with captions about being exhausted from his one part-time job at a clothing store. Each memory connects to the next one like a chain I never noticed I was wearing, and now that I see it clearly, I can't stop counting the links. The study abroad program cost me $8,000 in lost deposits and the experience of a lifetime. The double jobs during grad school meant I graduated with worse grades than I should have earned because I was too tired to focus on my thesis. The art contest money was just the beginning. The first time I learned that my achievements only mattered if they could benefit Michael, and every time after that just reinforced the same lesson until it became automatic. I finally fall asleep around 4 a.m. and wake up 3 hours later to my phone buzzing. I grab it off the nightstand and see a voicemail notification from Mom, timestamp 2:08 a.m. I press play, and her voice comes through sounding soft and sweet, totally different from the angry tone she used in the parking lot. She talks about how family misunderstandings happen, and maybe we all got a little heated, and then she mentions my birthday coming up in a few weeks. Her voice gets even sweeter as she says they want to make it really special this year. Maybe take me to that nice restaurant downtown I've always wanted to try, so we can work through this whole situation together like a family should. The manipulation is so obvious now that I've started paying attention. I replay the voicemail twice just to make sure I'm hearing it right, and yeah, she's definitely dangling my birthday like a carrot to get me back in line. The thing is, in 32 years they've never made my birthday about me without me planning and funding the whole thing myself. Last year I organized dinner at a restaurant I liked, made the reservation, showed up, and then got stuck with the bill for everyone including Michael's family of 3. The year before that I didn't plan anything and nobody else did either, so my birthday just passed like a regular Tuesday. But now suddenly they want to make it special, right after I stopped being their personal ATM. I sit up in bed and open my laptop. I type, "Therapist's Family Dynamics Boundary Setting" into the search bar and start scrolling through profiles. Most of them have generic bios about helping families communicate better, but then I find one named Emmeline Robles, whose profile specifically mentions helping people break free from enmeshment and people-pleasing patterns. I read through her approach and it's like she's describing my exact situation without knowing me. She talks about how some family systems train one person to be responsible for everyone else's needs, and how learning to set boundaries feels impossible when you've been programmed since childhood to put others first. I click the appointment button before I can talk myself out of it, and book an intake session for Thursday afternoon. Reading her profile makes me feel like maybe I'm not crazy for thinking this situation isn't normal, like maybe there are other people who've dealt with this same thing and actually found a way out. I close my laptop and sit there thinking about Dad. He's always been the peacekeeper who stays completely out of money discussions, and I don't actually know if he has any idea how much I've been covering for everyone. Part of me wants to show him the spreadsheet and tell him everything, but another part is scared of blowing up the family mythology we've all been maintaining. What if he doesn't believe me? What if he just tells me to work it out with Mom like he always does when there's conflict? What if he knew all along and just didn't care? I spend the whole afternoon at work distracted by these questions, barely paying attention during meetings. When I get home that evening, I pull out a notebook and start writing. I title the page "Non-Negotiables," and then stare at the blank lines for a while before I start filling them in. "No surprise requests for money," I write. "No guilt-tripping about family obligations. Complete transparency about who's paying for what. Monthly cap on any help I choose to give." The words look strange on paper, like rules for dealing with strangers instead of my own family. But seeing the boundaries written down makes them feel more real, and less like something I'll abandon the first time someone cries or gets angry at me. I read through the list 3 times and add one more line at the bottom. All financial discussions must be in writing. No more ambush conversations in parking lots or late-night phone calls. I wake up the next morning to my phone exploding with notifications from the family group chat. I open it and see that Mom has posted a bunch of old photos from when Michael and I were kids. Pictures of us at birthday parties and holidays with captions about happy family memories. Michael has sent several messages comparing me to other aunts who really show up for their nephews, with specific examples of expensive gifts and trips they've funded. I read 3 messages before my chest gets tight and I can't breathe right. I mute all notifications from the chat, and then I turn off my phone completely. I sit in my kitchen for 2 hours just breathing without the constant pressure of their messages coming through. When I finally turn my phone back on, there are 15 more messages I don't read. I look up Sophia's school phone number and call during my lunch break. The receptionist answers and I explain that I'm Sophia's aunt, and I've been helping with expenses, and I'm concerned about reports of bullying related to his birthday party. She's professional and doesn't ask for details, just says she'll connect me with the school counselor. A woman named Judy Nguyen picks up and we schedule a meeting for tomorrow afternoon to discuss any concerns about Sophia's well-being in a confidential setting. After work, I meet Troy at the coffee shop near our office. He suggested it this morning when he noticed I looked stressed, and I'm grateful to talk to someone who isn't part of my family drama. I tell him the fuller story, including the $47,000 total, and the fake bullying claims, and the 2 a.m. voicemail about making my birthday special. Troy listens without interrupting and then says it sounds like financial exploitation rather than normal family helping. He suggests I write out a formal boundary statement that I can send when I'm ready. Something clear and unemotional that doesn't leave room for negotiation or guilt trips. The practical advice helps me feel less alone. Like maybe this is actually something I can handle instead of just a mess I created by being selfish.